Well, we finally got this Crown Vic here in the shop, and in the back seat we've got all new brake shoes in there, and we got wheel cylinders and a couple extra wheel cylinders and a hardware kit and axle seals that we're going to go ahead and replace today. So I guess first things first, we'll pop those caps off, loosen these lug nuts, and then jack the thing up, and we can get to replacing everything. Alright, lug nuts are broke loose. Let's get her jacked up. Touring tires, not the best for the winter time. Alright, now I think you can see why I'm taking this whole thing apart here. It's all wet and nasty, glazed over, and it's causing this side of the brakes to grab. At first I figured it was just a leaky wheel cylinder, but I didn't ever have to add any brake fluid to it, and thinking about it I figured, you know what, we'll pull the axles and do the axle seals too, just to make sure that's not it. Because I would hate to put new brakes in, new wheel cylinders, and then ruin them right away with the leaky axle seal. So now we've got that off, and I showed you that. Let's go under there and take that diff cover off, drain that out, and get ready to pull the axles. Alright, first thing I did before I went ahead and took the diff cover off is check and make sure I can get to that fill plug out, because can't do that, bad things happen. So that one came loose, so we can go ahead and go around to the back of the diff and take that cover down and drain all the fluid and then get the axles out. Alright, now it's time to get the diff cover off. Unfortunately, I don't have a tiny tripod, so you're going to sit on a brake drum, but it should work. Alright, got all the boots out, or the bolts out, except for the top one there. Oh yeah, that's nice. I thought for sure I'd need a hammer, but nope. I think we'll just let that goo drip a while, and once it's done dripping, we'll take that last bolt out and see what we got in there. Well, I got the cover off, and man, she's gooey. Guess that's what happens when it's probably 15-20 degrees outside. Gear oil does not flow so well. But I think I'm going to jack up the front of the car so that stuff kind of works its way out, and we'll just let her drip for a bit. Alright, now we've got the pan off and most of that crap's drained out, we can start pulling the axles. And the first thing I need to do is pull that bolt right there out, and that'll allow me to slide that pin out. And once I do that, I can push the axle in and pull the C-clip off and pull the axle out. So I'll get that turned a little bit and drop it out of there. Alright, I've got that bolt and that pin slid out of it now, and I've pushed the axle in. I don't know how well you're going to see it, but now that I push that in, I can grab that little C-clip and get that out of there, and then I should be able to pull the axle out no problem. So let's see if we can get her done. Alright, not a whole lot of room to work under here, but let me try it with a magnet first, see if we can grab onto it and pull her out. Yep, no problem. Now the axle should just slide right out of there. Alright, now if all goes well, she just pulls right out of there. Oh yeah. Perfect. Slimy, but perfect. Alright, now that the axle's out, I think you can kind of see a little better. It's got a lot of buildup around that seal, which is telling me it was probably leaking out of there rather than the wheel cylinder. So it's a good thing I'm changing it. I don't see any wear on the axle from that seal. No groove in it, so a new seal should work just fine. I think I'll go ahead and yank the brakes off of here while the axle's out, just make it a little easier, a little more room to work, and we'll clean it all up and throw a new seal in there, new brakes on it, and new wheel cylinder, and we should be all good to go. Alright, I got the brake shoes off there, and I've neatly organized them all over the floor here so I can find the pieces later. And yeah, I think I'll take a wire brush and kind of clean this off a little bit, and then I'll replace that wheel cylinder, put new one in, and then we'll tackle that seal. Well, this went from a pretty simple job to a real pain real quick. I went ahead and I bolted the wheel cylinder in, and I started to thread in the brake line there, and it went for a while and then stopped, and I figured I was at the bottom, so I just slapped a wrench on it and I turned it about a quarter turn, half turn maybe, and I said something ain't right, and I undid it, and of course I buggered up the threads on that fitting. Lovely. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I tried to get it to go in straight, but it just wasn't having it, so I don't think I have enough line there to just cut the end off and reflare it with a new fitting. I have new fittings, but I don't think there's enough line there, so I may have to take the line all the way back. There should be a junction box type of thing on the axle there. I can undo it and make up a new line. Real pain in the butt. I really wish I didn't have to do. Well, crisis averted. I was able to take another wheel cylinder while I had it sitting, the brake line bent over here, and I was able to hold it straight while I kind of forced it to thread in straight, and thread it all the way in, back to back out, and that cleaned the threads up enough to get it threaded into there. So now we can go ahead and pop that seal out, replace that, and then throw the brakes back on, and then the axle can go back in, and that should hopefully cure our braking problems. There we go. Get her started there. There we go. I'd say that's in. Now we can throw the brakes on. Alright, I think I got everything in the way it's supposed to be. All new springs and doodads and things in there. So I think it's time to slide the axle in, and we can put the seat clip back on, and this side will be done. And then I can just do the same to the other side and button it back up. Man, that axle is slimy and cold. Well, I think we're in. Throw the seat clip in and pull her back out, and we can do the other side. Alright, axle's in, seat clip's back on, brakes are all ready to go. This side's done. Now, the other side, nothing really wrong with it. It's maybe a bit dirty, but beyond that, this would still work just fine. But since I'm replacing everything on the driver's side, I might as well go ahead and do all the same stuff here while I'm at it. I've got all the parts, so why not? Alright, I got the brakes and the axle seals done on both sides now. And I got the pin back in the differential, bolted in, so that's good to go. I had some people suggest I replace the bearings as well, because when a bearing goes bad, I can take the seal out. These bearings, they feel fine. There's no play in them. They're not rough. They're not noisy. You know, they seem perfectly fine. The only reason really I went to the axle seals and changed those out was because I couldn't be 100% sure that it was just the wheel cylinder that was leaking. Most of the time when a wheel cylinder leaks, it's pretty obvious. You can see a lot of wetness around these boots here, and on this one it was just kind of, everything was gooey, and I never had to top off the brake fluid in it when I was driving it, so I couldn't be 100% sure that it was just the wheel cylinder. So I went ahead and I did the seals. I think I paid less than $1 a piece for them, so not too bad of a price to pay for a little bit of peace of mind. And another thing, I've owned this car for like 15 years, and I don't ever remember changing the fluid in the diff there, so it was probably due for that anyway. So I left the bearings alone and just replaced the seals for some peace of mind. And now that we got that done, I'm going to go ahead and clean up the brake drums, slap them back on, we'll bleed the brakes, and I'll get the diff cover cleaned off and put some RTV on that, slap that sucker on, and we should be pretty much done. Alright, I've gone ahead and I've got the brakes bled, and I've got the diff cover back on and gooed up, so it should be ready to go. Now all we got to do is fill her up with fluid and see if she's going to work. And I found a cheap little gear lube pump here, and we'll see how that does. It says it works with any outboard or stern drive, so it should work fine for this Crown Vic, right? Let's take it out of the package and find some gear lube and see how it works. Well, this thing actually works pretty slick. It's a little slow. Not surprising though, considering it's freezing cold gear oil. But the only kind of complaint I might have is it doesn't quite reach the bottom of the bottle, so there's always a little bit left, but that's okay. I got a bunch of partial bottles I got to get rid of anyway, so go ahead and move that to a different bottle and keep going. Alright, gear oil's all filled up and ready to go. I should have bought one of these years ago. I don't know why I didn't. They're pretty awesome, but that worked well. We got the gear oil filled, got the wheels back on, battery in it, ready to go. So now we can hop in, fire it up, and give it a little drive. Make sure the brakes are good, and let them self-adjust a bit. Hopefully they'll work. I might have a little bit of air left in the system. Well, they're definitely stopping anyway. I get no traction at all with this car. None whatsoever. Touring tires are awesome. Well, at least the differential's getting a nice little workout there. Can't tell how the brakes are doing because they just slide around. No grip. They feel okay, but hard to tell. Well, you know what? I'm going to call that a win. For now, anyway. And I suppose I got to snowblow out a path again so I can get this thing back in there, because I'm not going to be driving in the wintertime, that's for sure.